Good day, fellow humans. So, I was originally about to do an uprising video. And the uprising video was going to be called Stop Hitting Yourself. Where we were going to be discussing the internal blockages that come up while you're trying to rise to your highest vibration. As I was going to do that or processing that in my head, my own blocks started coming up. And then I started getting mad. Like, why do these blocks even exist? Imagine having the set of gifts that I have and then still being like, womp, 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 because of this human experience, right? So I can't let no negative emotion just pass me by. I can't put it on pause because everything that you put on pause comes back around, right? So I was not willing to allow this to be something that went on spin cycle within me. So I decided to sit with it for a minute. I have a problem with my own power. The thing that I am missing now, or that is giving me a problem or issue, is my masculine energy, my fear of my own actual power. And I was like, what kind of is this? So I had to think back. The last time I had a conversation with some people that I rock with, when I was explaining to them my issue, they were like, it sounds like you sort of scared of yourself. And I'm like, I didn't take it at the time. It's been months since this conversation. But now that it has cycled back around, and I noticed recently, like within the last month, that my algorithm was like trying to give me information about dark feminine. And I was like, I want no parts of that. But it looks like I was putting this on hold, and it cannot be put on hold any longer. So I'm going to hold off on the stop hitting yourself video, right? And I'm going to make this one on Hellenistic astrology. This is going to be learn with me today because I need to get through this block. And I was totally like, all right, so I'm not going to do that video. Let me do one for myself. But I think there's a lot that other people are going to be able to take from this, especially after I explain how the Hellenistic astrology works with those of us who have root chakra blockages or karmic blockages or debt that kept us asleep for a certain amount of time until we learned the lesson. Because after that, you're getting your gifts or your birthright back. But you had to be completely dormant and still pass the test without knowing why or any of that stuff. So let me, because now I gotta talk real talk to y'all. Weird, right? I have to recognize when to, I don't want to say code switch, but I am coming to a point of acceptance. That's it. A very long time ago, I entered this sphere as an angelic entity. But during that time, things went very badly for me. So much so that I took on that if you can't beat them, join them. And not only did I join them, but I sort of became like their best hitter, right? So this life, I had to remain in my angelic state, despite the fact that I'd still be getting attacked by the people that used to be my homies. You know what I mean? You can't just leave the game. You have to get jumped out the game. And I did not know that for 33 years, everything that was going wrong with me or in my life that just seemed like ripple after ripple was me getting jumped by the gang because they're like, girl, you're gonna come back here. Ain't no way you fitting to go through all this and make your way to God. That's where they don't want you to be. Even this week, I swear I put this card back a million times, but this morning I found it on the floor, right? It says, dark entities are using people to work against you. That has happened to me since I started school. Now, I've been through to over 10 schools. Like, we moved a lot. I wondered why at every school I got bullied. It didn't matter. I used to get excited when I switched schools because I was like, all right, new school, new opportunity. Nobody's going to bully me here. Different person, new story. It did not matter through high school. So, as a matter of fact, I used to go into school really happy and ready to meet people, like in elementary school. By the time I got to high school, I had gotten very closed off. Like I didn't smile anymore, resting bitch face. Everybody used to say, "You look so mean until we talk to you." But that's because I was trying to make myself invisible. I would walk around with headphones. I didn't try to make friends, anything. That's how much the bullying had changed me from my original shiny personality to that. It's a insidious, very slow working thing that happens. Uh, Entities or demons or your opponents in the game usually put certain stuff in you in your storyline so that they can later play off of that in attacks. So, for instance, bullying was the thing that bothered me. It's actually my Chiron too. Chiron in 11 is bullying, or Chiron in Gemini is like elementary school bullying, right? I have both. When I got into wedding photography, I got so popular that other wedding photographers would like have little powwows about me. I got removed out of a group once, right? But I guess somebody, blessed be, let me back in there. But when I got in there, I saw that there was a whole post about me with a bunch of other wedding photographers that I like didn't even like know about, talking about me and how I was taking all the weddings. So the same wound gets exploited over and over again. And it's typically the wound that makes you stay here in every other life. So if you have your South Node in the fourth house, the seventh house, the sixth house, the eighth house, or the 12th house, this video is going to be very important for you because you are trying to escape the tree of death. Spirit fingers. Let me fix my bun. It's like my antenna in the back. Did y'all know that there's a whole chakra back here that's like rarely listed? It's called the Bindu chakra. And clearly that's being brought up for a reason. So let me Google it as I plan on golden gliding through this video. As I was getting through the internal traps within myself, I'm like, what bothers you? What do you want to do to move forward? All that sort of stuff. And I'm like, I have a thing about being misunderstood. Even now, when I make videos and stuff, I'm like, something is still not resonating with everyone like it should. And it could just be, in the back of my head. I don't know if sometimes like what I'm talking about is all the way up here and we all don't get it. Or maybe I'm looking for too many people to get something that is meant to be niche, just not a small group. But it was bothering me. Once again, that same wound coming up. And I started looking at videos about speech and articulation and all that sort of stuff. Just like thinking that maybe there's something I need to change about me again in order for me to better be received by other people. But then there was a part of me that was like, that's kind of lame. So I sat through a couple of videos on articulation and speech and all that stuff. And I was like, okay, A, B, C, and D, got it. But as I was watching this one particular video, I was like zoning in and out watching the video. And by the end, I was like, I will take some of those tips, but I cannot completely reconstruct myself into somebody else in order for me to be received like I think I need to be received by others. That didn't feel real to me. Yes, I will slow down and take breaths when I talk. I have a thing about talking fast. My mom has always gotten on me about that. Like, I used to slow down, but nobody understood me either, that I was channeling and what was coming through me was coming through me fast, because if I take a moment sometimes and I pause, I lose whatever the channel was that was coming through me. So no, I can't do that all the time, but I can work on my articulation or making sure that I write down like the theme of what I'm talking about, because sometimes I'm led through several different loops to come back to the main storyline, like a comedian, right? But I watched the videos. I didn't laugh once. I was not amused. Did I want to be that person in the video? Did I want to make videos about how to articulate myself or any of that stuff? No, I just wanted to be better understood as myself. So what I ended up doing was I just took little tips, little small stuff. It is okay to refine yourself, to cultivate your diamond, as I keep saying, right? But to create a mask to turn into a different person based upon what the algorithm says is popular or what I see other readers doing and all that sort of stuff is what I did as a wedding photographer. I used to spend hours looking at other websites on what was the wedding? Oh, on Martha Stewart weddings, on every wedding website where there were other wedding photographers. I would go look at everything, and my mind is really good at putting patterns together. So I took all the pieces of what made every other business work and I created mine. But by the end, I was so flexible in like my editing style, my prices, and all that, that I never defined who I was at all. People were drawn to the mask. That was a perfect representation of what a wedding photography business should be. But the interior was a mess. So you keep getting the same lesson over and over again. That's why I'm sharing this with you guys. I was being tested on if I had learned my lesson about changing myself in order to appeal to people who aren't naturally drawn to me. Authenticity is what draws your proper tribe to you. Putting on a mask pulls everybody in. I make this joke all the time about music. I was like, man, I am John Legending this shit. No personality. Not, no offense to John Legend, but just gonna be bland, just gonna ride my light skin out and just not have no opinion on nothing, just to stay safe and protect my money. I don't think that's what God wants from me. And it doesn't feel true to me to walk through anything with no personality, because I know some of the things that I say are going to be controversial or offensive, just simply because I'm talking about God, but I'm talking about God in a manner that has been banned by a book or a group of books that everybody believes in. I'm even in this job considered many different ways. Like, how can I not do A, B, C, and D? How can I not say God so I don't offend people over here? How can I not mention astrology even though I know this? How can I not explain that I can hear dead people immediately? As soon as you mention your dead relative, they pop up to me like, hey, send her this message. Like, how can I go through life and pretend to be who I was before when I didn't acknowledge my gifts, when they were shut down, when I am not that person anymore? And the answer to that was, you have been giving away your power so you won't get attacked since you were first bullied in elementary school. And I was like, holy shit. So that's why you walk through your funnels or your uncomfortable feelings, because otherwise you don't get to the root, which is the theme of today's video, your root chakra, and how all your suffering and all your darkness and all that stuff. So damn, this might be still stop fighting yourself, just a different type of version than what I was planning to teach. But all of that pain and sadness and doubt and all your lower level emotions are kept in your root chakra. And your chart, your root chakra is your Aries energy, your fighting spirit. But when you have been damaged, it's not fighter energy. It's more martyr energy. Or you can be one of those people that'll beat up everybody. It can be your bully energy, depending on how you handle the traumas and stuff that have been re-triggered in you. Because everything you're doing in this life has already been done in another life. So the Bindu chakra is a point at the back of the head where the bones of the skull meet. You have to activate it. How do you activate it? Rub your palms together, place them on your face, bend forward into your head, rest on the floor. Look at me still judging. Whatever. Brings about physical, psychic, and spiritual health. It helps to quiet our emotions and brings harmony and a sense of well-being. It is known as the health center. Okay. Now I feel like, how is this connected to your crown? What chakra is blocked by worry? Your root chakra. So anxiety ruins your root. But I was also getting that the enemy can only attack you based on the attacks that they have already put there. That's how they know where to hit you. That's how they know to make you anxious. And when you're anxious, you are taken away from your crown chakra and put into that root survival mode. So, Bindu chakra benefits. When the Bindu chakra is activated, it will add an extra dimension to your ability to move through your life with candor and bliss, something you might not have thought was possible. Relieves anxiety, depression, nervousness, and also any oppression in the heart. The Bindu produces Amrita. If y'all are new here, Amrita is the ambrosia that the gods used to stay immortal. It is actually a hormone that is produced by the brain, and when stimulated, it comes down and it turns your feminine essence in a sexual manner into a liquid that extends this gift to the person that you are sharing yourself with. But internally, it just drips down into you when it's activated. I think I was drawn here for the gets rid of depression, nervousness, anxiety, and oppression. But that last piece was handy to know. So this is the Hellenistic chart, by the way, guys. Along with this chart comes the annual profections. I share on this page is based upon the different maps that I'm realizing are quite significant to us being locked inside of a quantum computer. Every 12 years, you are going around a loop, the same loop for every cycle. And I believe this ends at 82. You just have to get so old that you get into free play mode. Like all the hard stuff is done. Going around is directly connected to this. If you were born in the fourth house, like me, my shit is from the fourth house, and I had to say my shit because I keep telling you guys, I came from the underworld. On the outside of this, you see the different locations. The helm is like the front, like you likely came from Michael's army, or I mean, I still want to say it's Michael's army. Any army, let me be, because my mind keeps saying, any army, you are a soldier, right? The gate of Hades, you are coming from the crossroads. If you have your south node in eighth and you're coming towards the second, you're going to be judged. You want to be judged. You want to have a chance to get out of your cycles that keep you reincarnating. The third house is the house of the goddess, the mother. I find that interesting as well, since it's Gemini energy. But moving on, the subterranean version is still the mom, but it's like Hecate. It's that moon energy. I showed you guys, I believe this was yesterday. Let me pull this up again just because South Korea declares martial law. Lord, God told me don't be lied. The story in the bottom is about a messenger from the Most High. God sent a little ping like, Abra, get out of the city on this date. But while you're leaving, don't look back. If you look back, something's going to happen. As they're leaving, and keep in mind, he told his whole family this thing. But as he's leaving, his wife doesn't listen. She doesn't have the same discernment. She doesn't have the same faith. She looks back. What happens? She turns into a pillar of salt there without a mama because she decided to look back. So the message I got was, don't look at anything that's going on here. It's only going to distract you and pull you into the tide, into the undertow if you look at these politics every day. So I stopped watching the news. I stopped watching all of that stuff. I shared with you guys that I started curating my algorithm, but even then I have been staying off my phone in order to avoid the little petty triggers and stuff that make me feel like, oh, I need to focus on sharing this info with people because I know they're worried about this. The message I received is the only messages I need to share are the ones that I get when I wake up in the morning, when I take that shower, or when I lock in. Do not be of this world, even though you're in this world. This is temporary. You are leading others out, but you are also getting yourself out. Don't watch any of that stuff. So this is the throne of Hecate, right? This is at the location that is the moon. Let me show you on the tree of life. Y'all need all this tea. Whoever watches my videos, y'all are getting amazing. Like, don't worry about the numbers unless it's something like this algorithm thing that's been messing with me lately. But don't worry. The people who are meant to hear you will find your content and they'll get the message that they need to get from it. Not everybody is going to get the message because everybody's not going. There's a Stevie Wonder song for that. They won't go where I go. Oh, that song always makes me cry. But Not everybody is meant to get the information. Like an underground railroad, only the people that are getting let out. Some people will try to hop on to those who are getting out, but they're like the ops, the people that are going to snitch you out and that sort of stuff, just spiritually, the people meant to bring you down. So if you're a person that shares messages or you get messages and you realize everybody's sleep around you and you feel like there's nothing you can do about it, do not worry. The people meant to find you or be with you or to move with you or to go on your own life journey will be receiving that same information from source. And you are only the confirmation. Your message is letting somebody else know, oh, okay, I got it. I heard what I heard and I'm not tripping. So many times people pop up on my posts and they're like, how are you doing this? I swear I was just thinking about A, B, C, and D. And it's usually multiple people, but it's because we're receiving the same stream. I recognize when I book readings, a lot of times, because I'll think about the synastry, like how my chart is triggering theirs, I am tapping into the logos in their chart. The logos belongs to the crown. That is the high point of the Trinity, the male and the feminine essence of God, right? That is the highest you can get. That's how you get exit back out of the game. Hecate is right here on the tree of life. That's the entrance through which you can slide there. If you are on the tree of, where are you at, boo? Here we go. Somebody who was born from the tree of death or in a low vibration, you can tell based upon the family that you came through, where you came from. You have to climb through all of these obstacles first. I would assume that anybody who was born with their south node in the 8th or the 7th or the 6th or any of those heavier houses would have that issue. So when you hop out here, you get a chance to build up or walk up the yellow brick road down the middle to go back to Christ. Or you can take the path of severity, which is the fuck around and find out. This is you stepping off the yellow brick road and helping other people. Or you can take the Jesus path over here, which is, I'm going to say Gemini in nature. Gemini means learning based upon what other people have learned. You have taken the time to recognize the patterns in what's already been written. You have listened to the great teacher, and you decided you're going to follow that belief system. Over here, on this pillar of severity, that's more of a Sagittarian path. You have that Alice energy. You have decided that you are going to fuck around and find out on your own what has already been written. One, you learn from what other people have learned and you sort of say, hey, all right, that's enough. The other one, you go and you take your own adventures. You have your own stories and you end up learning the same lessons, but you have personal recollection, personal evidence to share with others. So coming out the 4th house, that's where you're coming from. You just got out of the underworld. Let me close these two so nobody gets confused. And by nobody, I mean me. When you are coming from the 5th house, you are coming from source. That's a lovely house also. That's the sun. That's sun daddy, right? The 6th house, you owe a debt. You came into here with a debt. You are already in karmic. There's no other word for it, but debt you owe. So you likely have a job that is one of servitude in this life, but you're meant to go from that to clearing the board. The setting angle usually means that you pair up with somebody and y'all achieve everything together. It's a little bit easier, but also it's not because you're constantly seeking a partner. Now, keep in mind, you can use this information for if you have planets in any of these houses as well. And you can consider those like lessons that you have left over if you have planets or asteroids there. Mainly personal planets. The generational ones like Neptune and Uranus, Pluto, those are more so group karma. Say, for instance, Pluto and Scorpio. You guys came to learn about all the dark stuff. Y'all went through something extremely tragic together. Like I would see Pluto and Scorpio with people who reincarnated from the Holocaust or reincarnated from slavery or any other type of genocide that occurred. Y'all experienced something as a group. Your Uranus, right? That's a group of people that came with a specific scientific or humanitarian task that is supposed to be pulled together in this life. When I started thinking about that, I thought about the Eternals, how they were meant to help evolve humanity through a certain gift or a certain amount of knowledge that they were pouring into the people. That's what your Uranus would be. Everything that is meant to be learned during this time to help you evolve per the timeline. So 7th house planets, it's supposed to be a little bit easier, but at the same time, you are learning balance between you and another person. And it's so hard to, because you can't control another person. They have to grow on their own. So I consider that one of them difficult houses because you're bringing something into balance. Most of the time, that means one partner is light and one is dark. But even when it's half and half, you're going to bring out each other's stuff. The eighth house, that made me blow my nose. Hold on. You wasn't even on the board. You couldn't even have a body before this life. You were so punished, you had to just linger in the in between in each life. That's why it's labeled inactive, idle. The eighth house is what I call the punishment place. In jail, in hell jail, because that's what the underworld is, there is the area with the royalty, the wardens, the people who run hell, and then there's the area with the prisoners. When you die, your scales are weighed. And if you did something that is like throwing your weight off, you do a little time or you have to reincarnate to make it right. When you did something really bad and that scale goes boom, you get a big sentence below, and the other ones are in charge of like making sure you never want to come back there again, would be the easiest way to say that. That's the punishment house. The ninth house is, once again, it's the Father, came from the Most High. You even see it says King here, right? And God up there. Now, the 10th one, that's Saturn. You came from bad dad. You are here to to lock in some stuff, something in your reputation, something in your business. You were living a life of restriction. The 11th house, you came to be an angel, gift to the collective. You came from the angels that come to help, is the energy I always feel from this. 12th house, shouty. That's where the royals are, where the ones that punish the other bad souls hang out. And it says suffering, weakness, danger, and stuff, right? But on the outside, it says bad spirit. Things that come along with being a part of the underworld vibration, bottom line, right? So as this goes around, here we go again, every 12 years, you are going through the themes connected with the other lives that you have lived and these themes. Some years it might be real quiet because you have no planets there. Like if you have no planets in fifth, that year, great fortune. It's just good. If you have no planets in the sixth house, that year you might notice some little health stuff. But if you've been on your P's and Q's and you've been listening to your intuition, the health stuff that could have hit you if you had planets there or you still had debt would be completely different. Ooh, when I had a sixth house year, y'all, I have Capricorn in sixth, right? Capricorn rules teeth, skin, knees, bones, face structure, right? I fell and dislocated my knee. Me falling destroyed my whole business because I wasn't able to show up for weddings anymore. I don't even have planets in sixth, but I had accrued some debt from that time when I had been all stoic with resting bitch face. There are times in my life where I could have been nicer or kinder that I did not take. So it was a humbling that happened with bad fortune because of what had been accrued in my career and my business because of that mask that I was wearing, right? So your root is your helm. It is your start. It is where your personal power is. The house that your Mars is in, we're getting there. The house that your Mars is in tells you how your power is coming out, where your power can be used, right? So I told y'all where I just came from, where I got out of, right? And I am making sure that I have all the correct asteroids for this, although we're focused on Mars, right? So my Mars is in the 12th house. My power was purposely watered down in this life in order to make sure that I wasn't a harm to myself or others. So what does that mean, right? And from this point on, y'all guys can take this personal example because I have a Sag sun, technically. I'm a Leo, but it's at a Sag degree. So I took the pillar of severity. I took the fuck around and found out. I'm trying to type at the same time. Path. Either way, I wanted to learn from my own experience. Even now in this life, 211, my my bestie, my GBF since high school, has this thing where he always wants to mansplain shit to me. I hate it. Like I'll be over here trying to figure something out and I'll be like searching it and he'll give me an answer or whatever. And I'll be like, hey, sometimes I would like to find the answer out on my own, even if it means I fall on my tail, because I want to learn. There have been times previously when I did not do that. I used to let him mansplain to me. And even times when I knew better and I knew his answer was wrong, I was like, oh, okay. And I gave away my own power in that way because I didn't want to start a fight going against his mansplaining. Now I'll be like, bruh, I'm figuring it out. Go over there. So I guess over time, your Mars develops. Even as right now we're having this conversation, I'm still like, there's more that I need to do. Y'all have no idea how spineless I want to say I was in this life because bullying was really bad for me. So I just really got to the point where I didn't want anybody to notice me, don't talk to me, nothing. I'll just be quiet. I even hate to stand up in church when they say, can you say your name for the congregation? Please don't notice me. That's the energy that I was really carrying. And I still am sort of carrying that I need to not. But now I get to explain to you why. This is a book called She, right? And let me see if I can get y'all some clips. Doesn't matter what year. Oh, I mean, that's a version. That one should trigger some sort of memory for y'all. These renditions are horrible. That's another thing about finding yourself in history. And I've had the good fortune of being able to sit through several different movies that were made about my other incarnations. And I'm like, dang, I knew something felt off in this life. This life is your karmic character, the person you had to be in order to clear out everything that happened before now. So because I had gone so far this way, the scale had to be balanced this way until I got to this medium point, which is what I'm working on. So this is She, right? In the book, you'll notice that she's named Aisha, the white African. Offensive, because like I'm pale, y'all, but I'm clearly black. Like, look at my nose. But when I was in the punishment place, I was not one of the souls that was in the trenches being punished. I was on the royal side. Like I told you, I got so good at collecting souls because that is what's required down there in order to move up the ranks, that I was just floating between the realms. When you float between the realms, you can talk to the humans for different things. If there is a human that's crying out for a project like this She, you just pop up on them, you give them the idea, and then you watch how it plays out. I have been able to get or confirm a lot of my memories by the seeds that I had planted in other lives through the writers, musicians, artists, so that one day when I did get back in my body, that my vibration had rise enough out of hell density that I would remember who I was and what not to do in this life. This right here is what I did wrong. I was still collecting souls once I got out of the body. In this movie, the theme is there's a telepathic woman named She Who Must Be Obeyed, but it's Aisha, right? Because her power is the ability to implant thoughts in people's heads or to control them telepathically. Like if I say jump, jump. That's the reason I was able to build a whole kingdom, because nobody would dare go against my gifts. Those have been put into the punishment place for this life. They're not already here. Like y'all see, if you've been following me for a while, I'll pick up on a lot of stuff. But my ability to use that externally or to push outwards on people is not quite intact. So during that lifetime, ended back up right in the sunken place. The story that was given to this writer was given as a, do I want to say memorandum? Just something that I would remember in the future, what not to do when I got my stuff back, right? So that's why my power is in the sunken place, just for all the times that I failed when I came above. Lately, I've been getting little pings like you're a dark feminine. I didn't understand that was just the transmutation of what was in my root, what was left in my root. Your Mars also represents your root chakra. Mine is at the 4th degree. That is that moon degree. All that family, past life, subterranean energy is still something that had to be worked through. I am approaching 40 now, right? That's how many cycles of 12? 12, 24, 36. I gotta count like that. So, okay, 3 cycles it has taken me to go around that wheel. So today is December 3rd, 2024, right? Lately, I noticed some of my stuff picking up, but the more that my gifts were picking up and new stuff was happening, I kept hearing, you can't be afraid of yourself. You can't be afraid of your powers. Guys, there was a point during Scorpio season when my gifts got so intense that I was like, I have to get this off of me. I need to give this to somebody else. It turns out that in many lifetimes, that's how I was also giving away my power to a partner. Like I'd be so overwhelmed with my own stuff, I'd have sex with like my partner because it's your root. That's where my gifts are lying. But when you have Mars in 12, when you have sex with somebody, you are giving them some of your juju. So in my case, my power gets so overwhelming that it will require a 3-day ritual. Like I'd have to have sex for 3 days, like no outside interference, nothing. And then at the end of that 3 days, I would fall into an exhaustion or a slumber. Then I go to meet God. I get to hang out with Source for however long I'm sleeping. Then I wake up and I'm glowing. And my person is now imbued with the same gifts that I have for as long as they don't wear them out. I'll say like 30 days before we would have to do it again. It'd have to be done once a month. But that links to the Amritra that I was just pulling up. So I am being retaught about my gifts. And I know God's up there like, you got this. You're not going to mess it up this time. I've been giving away my gifts to whoever I'm with because there is a subconscious fear of who I become or how I start acting as a Leo when I get my own gifts, especially knowing that sometimes I become omnipotent and telepathic. And in previous lives, it was telekinetic. So not only could I speak to you telepathically, but I can move stuff too. Every time I see Carrie, I'm like, something about this is really familiar. I have been the worst version of myself in other existences, and I have been shown that during this time too. So if there's any reason I'm afraid of my own power, it's because I've seen in other times what I've been capable of. And I have seen some dark prophecies about quite possibly what I could, I'm going to say could have, because I don't feel like I could in this life have become if I had not done heart healing. I was told that the reason I was forced to focus on heart healing so much is that when this Mars transit kicked in, all my old stuff was going to come up. So I needed to have a clear heart for that energy to come through. I am having my Mars return. That is why all this stuff like, hey, please heal your root, learn how to merge with your darker feminine. And I'm like, why would I do that? But my kids ain't been listening to me like they should. And at first I was like, I'm just going to leave. Maybe they'll figure out what to do if I go away for a week and they'll appreciate me. That's me, once again, giving away my power and fleeing a situation, right? I couldn't do it when I thought about it this morning. I kept hearing that, embrace your power, embrace your power. So I was like, when they come home today, just gonna tell them real smooth, because I can't be mean to my babies, but I can't be mean to me anymore, especially when I feel this fire sort of like building in me. I can't really explain it because right now it's still in 12th. So I have my spiritual power. My power works outside of this body. And keep in mind, the 12th house is also the house of bedroom pleasure. So another thing is my sexual energy, right? But it's building and I can like, right? So I'm gonna sit them down and say, I don't care how y'all do it, but that kitchen's gonna get fixed and y'all aren't gonna bother me about who's doing what. But y'all got till such and such time to have it fixed, and that's gonna be that. I think maybe that's the way I'm going to have to approach my power in general until I learn how to flex it. When you just saw me have the date on here for May 2025, guys, I was like, okay, so my power is still subconscious now. It's not actually able to be seen in the physical. I've been building stuff in the 5D, and keep in mind, my soul keeps secrets from me. I tell 211 all the time. I'm like, I'm good, I'm chill, I'm doing this. But I don't know what my soul is doing all the time. And I gotta watch her, right? We've been through a lot. But when I came here, I was like, I need to know when Mars goes into my first house. When you have a first house transit, that means it has just left the spiritual realm and it is about to touch base in the physical in a way that you can see. And in this case, the first house is like your physical body. So I came on here and I was like, I need to find the date when it's about to go into my first house or when it starts affecting me, or I can actually see the results of my power out here in the world. Guys, I came here and I was like, Mother's Day. Look at this shit. Mother's Day 2025. My ascendant gets triggered. That means by, let's say June 1st, I'll have to wield myself a little differently. I'm not even going to say like by then. I have to work on it in between time. While Mars was going through Cancer, we were learning how to handle our emotions, which is very important because a lot of our power, if you watch the movie Wicked, you would have seen that a lot of our power stems from our feelings. And if you can't manage them, when you get mad, you're going to pop off like a baddie or somebody on, what's that show? Bad Girls Club. You're just going to have no emotional control. I don't know what's going to happen when my power goes into first, like even my spiritual gifts and stuff. But I know that between now and then, because I have gotten all these signs, all these messages, all these intuitive things, stop hitting yourself, that I am going to spend my time between now and then disarming what could potentially be, do I want to say a bomb? If I had allowed myself to continue to be a martyr or to walk around with my hands behind my back or not embracing my personal power, yes, then it could have came through in a funnel of, grr, suddenly I must take over the world. And that was my joke for a long time when anybody would ask me what I was doing up until about 33. Somebody would call me and say, Aisha, what are you doing? I'd be like, trying to take over the world. But it turns out that's what my soul had been doing for a really long time with those gifts. Every time I came up here just to reach a soul quota. That's not my aim here. In this life, I am working for, as you can see, my logos in first. I'm working for the Most High. My goal is to get souls to the light. But because I am doing that, it's a betrayal to every other dark entity that I have known in my other lives. So part of, I'm walking myself through this now. The fear I have around my own power coming into the front is that I won't be able to hide anymore once my gifts aren't tucked in the background. Once my energy is now no longer stifled and hidden. I think that's what I've been prepared for, or have been being prepared for the last couple years. Now, I'm supposed to have a bodyguard. I think that's what 211 is. Like this whole time I couldn't figure out what that is, but there's this thing in your chart called a persona chart, right? Each planet in your chart has its own storyline. So I came here to my Mars. I'm like, I need to understand my power. Like, what am I afraid of? Right? Guys, my intuitive guidance, my instincts that were telling me to hand my power off to somebody as soon as I felt myself getting too full was because look at the seventh house. The seventh house is a partnership, somebody else that you have in a connection with you, right? And notice that my self note here is an 8. I told y'all I was definitely not my best self in other lives. But here, me giving part of my power to a male is actually supposed to be something that shields me. I'm trying to think of a way to explain that because it was bothering me. It felt like some weak bitch shit. I hate to even say that, to be like, oh my gosh, I'm getting too powerful. I need to give it to a guy. But that's sort of what has protected me. When I am in my own power, it triggers my enemies, which are mostly male. When I give that same energy to the person I am in a relationship with, that becomes their energy. And then guys flock to them. Everybody flocks to them. And then I'm just like safe in the background and nobody knows that. Who's put the puppeteer? That still seems lame to me. Now, this part I'm just talking to y'all. But you can look up your persona chart to find out how your Mars works as well. My Saturn is right here in Sagittarius. I noticed that every single one of my charts is connected to a specific guy, or it lines up with his chart perfectly. And if I was just to pour my energy into him, he would turn into Malcolm X. He would turn into Tupac. He would turn into some sort of black vigilante for the people. And I'm like, is that what God wants for me? Or is this just this design? Is that something draconic? But no, look, my logos in this chart is at the 19th degree. That's a Libra degree. I am meant to have a partner because you are stronger together than apart, but also because I'm sort of being, I said bodyguard, but it's like a handler, but like a handler from God. Like I'm on probation in this life. So I always have a person with me to make sure that I never personally get too powerful so that I turn back into the she that must be obeyed. Trash, right? But also found out why I was scared of myself, why I was afraid of my own powers and my own abilities. But it depends on the ego of the person that you've been in this life. And in this life, I'm very, very proud to say God has reshaped me. When I first woke up, I was listening to, I know I've been changed a lot. Like if God can take my black soul and turn it white, he can do it for anybody. And I kind of think, y'all, that's the reason why I was allowed out. To be an example, God forgives everybody. There's a lie going around by these creatures that you can't go home. It's like when you join a gang or when you go off to become a stripper or a prostitute, something, and you've done so much stuff, you don't even want to go back and tell your parents because you think they won't look at you the same. The first time I saw The Color Purple, oh, and it still makes me emotional now. That scene where Suge goes into the church and she's like, Daddy, sentencing out of soul too. Like it's still like it messes me up. But I understand now you have been getting triggered this whole life by stuff that is a reminder of your soul tale. Like the things that you are drawn to, the things that make you emotional, the characters, the storylines, all that stuff is connected some way, shape, or form to your higher self and the hive you come from. So, with the theme now being stop hitting yourself in the Uprising series, I love how myself tricks me into these things. Do some research on yourself through your natal chart. I've given a lot of clues here, and they're probably good for people who are more avid in astrology, but it takes nothing to look up or Google on YouTube, because those people will talk your ear off just like this. I'm a yapper. South Node in fourth in whatever sign. You can look it up on Tumblr, look it up on Google, look it up on, I wouldn't say X, but there is some stuff on there. Find out everything you can about your blockages. Learn yourself inside and out. There's a quote that says, the more you read a book, the more you become the main character. This is the time where you need to learn your character inside and out. Who plays Mortal Kombat with Sub-Zero without throwing out the freezer power, right? Who grabs that character and doesn't read the little manual thing and learn the cheats? These charts, this access to this information is your cheat to not only understanding your gifts and the skills that you have to make this life easier, but to understand the parts of yourself psychologically, reincarnationally, karmically, that are trying to defeat you or pull you back into your patterns. Look at your wounds, because those are what are going to be exploited. That's all the enemy can see about you. They might see different variations of light, but they can't even figure out what that is. But they can see that somebody used to touch you when you were little, and they can bring movies about that about, and then the rest of your day is ruined because you watched a movie about some stuff that you still had unsolved in you, and you don't even know why you were in such a good mood, but then suddenly you don't even want to do nothing no more. And you're depressed for weeks afterwards because the enemy, the opponent, knows all the deep, dark things that have been planted in your roots, in your base character from the beginning. And if you don't know those things, you are subject to attacks. You are subjectable to falling off your path or back into the old things. It's like when somebody knows you and they like, yeah, just give them a little time. They'll be right back to doing what they're doing. Because every time I do this to them, They be right back here. So you'll get caught in the same game with the same spirit. You don't even know, hopping in different bodies. This is the same spirit, just doing the same thing to your ass over and over again. So with the stop hitting yourself, look into your first house, look into your Mars, look into your South Node. Learn your weakness that has the potential to be your greatness. Learn what the enemy knows. Isn't that like a war tactic? Like learn their plays. Like what is, oh, discovery is what just popped in my head. Like in law, when your opposing team has info on you or witnesses or anything else, it is required that they give you that info in some way, shape, or form, which is what this is. If you choose not to look at that, you might not win your case. Look into everything you can, because as you are trying to rise up and become your best self, especially now that you've written it all out and you've been trying to do it for a couple weeks now, these things are going to come in to stop you and make you feel defeated and make you fall right back down into your patterns. Once you learn, hey, I do this all the time, this has got to end. Something is going to be triggered in you. You have to trigger your Mars. You have to trigger your inner fighter. What am I fighting for? What am I fighting against? Like me personally, family, fourth degree, right? The degrees will tell you like what you fight for, but I'll fight for my beliefs. That's probably because it's next to my Sag degree sun, but I'll fight for God. That's because my Mars is next to my crown. I'll fight for my faith. I'll fight for my beliefs. But for myself, I have a hard time with that. I'm more of a like monk, but that's not going to help me where I'm going. And I can't be no weak ass bitch. Especially knowing that I'm not really weak. This was a decision because I was afraid of going to hell again. So your story might be as dramatic if you have South Node in any of those houses or planets in any of those houses I told you about. But you will know internally, you will know subconsciously. You will be like, this makes so much sense, especially if you have had a really hard life. You have been pretty much getting the demon beat out of you. You've been getting jumped by the rest of the gang. But at the same time, you were supposed to be transmuting that and turning it into faith, because every time you get knocked down, you get pulled back up again. You would not be attacked. You probably have been around people who don't have the issues you do. And you're like, dang, why? Because there's something about you that they would like to keep here. So keep that in mind, guys. And I hope this was really helpful and that y'all appreciated my new articulation. And have a good day.